Greetings and welcome to the SuperCom Webcast. It's now my pleasure to introduce your host, Ordon Trabelsi, President of Americas. Mr. Trabelsi, you may begin.
Hello, everyone, and thanks for joining us for our virtual presentation on SuperCom. There's a lot going on over here in SuperCom with some of the changes to our industry given COVID-19, and we'll get through that. But first of all, let's start. So I'm on slide 3. Yes, you can see. So SuperCom, what we do, for those who don't know, we're a global provider of secure identification, IoT tracking, and cybersecurity solutions. We've been doing this for over 30 years, providing such solutions to governments around the world, usually to national government projects and also to local counties and agencies of the sort. In secure identification, we essentially do biometric passports, ID cards, driver's licenses, full turnkey solutions to help a country issue and secure the identity of its citizens. We do that mainly in developing countries in Africa and Latin America. Internet of Things tracking is mainly offender tracking. We do house arrest and GPS tracking for offenders, mainly in North America and in Europe. And cybersecurity solutions, we sell software to encrypt and protect laptops and PCs for enterprises around the world, but also mainly in the developed regions of the world. Next slide, you'll see some numbers and highlights. So our market cap is currently $16 million. It's been moving a lot recently. We have roughly 115 employees, 120 patents. In 2018, our steady-state recurring revenue is over 86%. We own 28% insider ownership, mainly the Sigma Wave family fund of my family. We have over 1,000 customers around the world in many different countries. And lately, there's been an increased demand for our product due to COVID-19, and we'll get into that very shortly. And there's also been abnormally high liquidity. Our average is 1.9 million shares traded daily. Yesterday we had 4 million. Some days we have as high as 60 million shares traded. This is higher than far higher than what we're used to, and we believe it's because of some of the updates and progress as of late, given the COVID-19 situation. Great. So we have a new solution. It's based on our existing technology. We've been tracking offenders for many years in many countries around the world, including Denmark and Czech Republic and Sweden and the US and Canada and more. We've been accelerating and expanding very nicely in this field of tracking of offenders. Our technology is field proven and actually has a lot of technical capabilities that other competitors don't. And given those advantages, we win a lot of RFPs that we compete on. Lately, given this global crisis, we tried to see how we can adapt our technology to help. And we do have an expertise of tracking citizens around the world. And we essentially applied our same technology to quarantine solution, essentially to make sure that someone is in their home for 14 days and to track a location of people that are at risk of infecting others with COVID-19. We've adapted our solution and started offering it to local partners and or governments essentially throughout the world. And here you see a picture of the solution. Essentially, there's an ankle bracelet, which is very lightweight, water resistant, and the battery lasts for up to a couple years. And together with a smartphone, we have tremendous tracking capabilities, also underground, also where there's Wi-Fi networks. And we offer the solution to governments currently. Furthermore, because of COVID-19 and the threat of outbreaks in prisons and in jails, we're seeing increase of demand for our normal electronic monitoring technology. We have won over 18 new projects over the last 2 years, but the size of those projects was much smaller than some of the things we're seeing today. And we're getting, through directly from government agencies and through partners, government contractors in various countries around the world, including the U.S., we're getting requests to help monitor offenders that need to be released from prison, given the COVID-19 risks. And so the industry today in the U.S. is estimated at roughly 2.3 million incarcerated Americans. If a portion of that comes out to house arrest, that's a huge surge in demand for tracking of offenders at home and alternatives to incarceration, which should create increasing demand for us and all of our industry players. And by the way, if you guys have questions, you can ask through the platform. I'll probably get to them at the end and take some of the questions that you write through the platform. Thank you. Some other investment summaries. So we won in 2019 10 new multi-year government projects. We were awarded over 20 in the past few years, mainly in IoT tracking of offenders, which is our focus. Our core non-GAAP operating expense have declined sequentially over the quarters in 2019. They continue to decline. And our focus is in ID, IoT, and cybersecurity. Most of our revenues these days are steady-state recurring, and we are continuously expanding into more countries with our technology. Even places we don't have a current presence, we're able to bid our technology and, given the scoring, score high and enter new countries. Currently developed markets in 2018 represented over 70% of our revenue. You can see the steady-state revenue growth and movement. So in the past few years, in 14 and 15, where the market cap of the company was actually very high, over $200 million, we did have a majority of our revenues, one-time revenues, in developing countries, and it was important for us as a strategy to shift to developed countries and also to work more on products and solutions that have a recurring nature, just like the tracking of offenders, where you typically get paid, per unit per day in the U.S., and other regions you have recurring revenues as well. And cybersecurity software, we have a maintenance yearly as well as perpetual license. So you can see over the years how we've been shifting and moving more towards stronger recurring revenues based. And these contracts are usually very long-term, 5 to 7 years, and they give us a good visibility of ongoing recurring revenue. In 2018, our revenues did move for over 70% to developed nations, and we also moved to over 15% of the revenues came from enterprise customers, various banks, investment firms, legal firms, hospitals, and others around the world. We'll dive a little bit more into the business segment. So you can see here eGov, which is the traditional business of tracking of offenders, traditional business of identification of citizens in countries, biometric ID cards and driver's licenses and passports and visas. We've been doing that for a long time, a lot of experience and a good track record that we actually use to also win projects in other fields of government like IoT tracking. So the synergy is there, and it's very useful for us. But that business itself has been winding down in revenues. In 2018, it was roughly $6 million, and that's been on the decline as we transition most of our focus to the developed countries. IoT tracking in 2018 was $12.5 million, and cybersecurity is roughly $3.5 million in 2018. So in eGov, while the market is large, over $20 billion, and there's high importance to help track the identity of citizens, also to prevent fraud and malicious activity, but also to help governments run more effectively. We've been doing that for many years and have a strong track record. Here are some of the countries that we've deployed to, such as the UK, Iceland, Ecuador, Tanzania, Ethiopia. And we have a very strong platform that we continue to use to existing customers today. And the deployment cycle for that business is very long, a long time to win the RFP and then deploy. Then you have customers that are with you on average for over 10 years in the maintenance support phase. Very sticky customers, and we maintain some of them today. Our next business in IoT tracking, we estimate the market to be roughly $2 billion around the world, and a big focus in the U.S. and Europe We essentially help governments save costs significantly by keeping people at house arrest and allowing them to continue to work and to finance themselves and their families. So we reduce costs significantly, and this also helps with fighting the cycle of recidivism. People come out of prison, you want to monitor them and make sure that re-entry into society is done smoothly. And we do that in California and other places throughout the U.S., including Tennessee, Georgia, South Carolina, and Canada, and in some of the countries I mentioned before in Europe. You can see our solution is proprietary. We develop it in-house, and there's a lot of advantages here. Firstly, the tag is much smaller and much longer battery life than what is out there today. Most of our competitors have a tag, a bracelet that you have to charge every day or two. It's on your leg, so you have to connect your leg to the wall. It's very inconvenient. Ours is a small bracelet you put underneath the sock, and you don't have to charge it. It communicates with a smartphone, so if you need to call the offender and communicate with them, you have that access. And you have a lot of capabilities, such as tracking underground, on subways, and so forth, that you couldn't with just a bracelet. We have PureMonitor software that helps monitor the offenders or the patients, and that allows you to know exactly where the people are at any given moment. It's real time, and you could put inclusion zones, exclusion zones, where they're allowed to be. Are they allowed to go to work? Do they have to stay home? Do they have to the right to go see the doctor? And we also have other units such as the PureCom for strictly house arrest, and PureBeacon. Beacon if you want to expand. If someone is in a very large facility and they want more room, we do that as well. We also have inmate monitoring within prison facilities. We also have domestic violence solutions. We have alcohol solutions that we support on our platform, and a whole plethora. And our technology has been scored very highly on many of our bids. Now, what's interesting here is also our supply chain. We're able to leverage the massive supply of Samsung smartphones, lock them down with Knox and do other things to allow us to reach some of the increased demand that we're seeing, because people are asking us, customers and partners, for thousands of units really quickly. And while many of our competitors manufacture in China and the process takes months, we can do it much faster through leveraging the smartphone and also the tag where we manufacture. We also have the ability to manufacture in China, but we also do it in Israel and Europe, and we have a ability to do that very fast if needed. Going to run a bit faster so we get to the Q&A as well. So we've won over 20 new wins. Note that in the eGov sector, in the past 30 years or so, we won 20 projects, and here in IoT tracking, we won 20 projects in roughly 2 years. So we're winning at a much faster pace, and we think we have some significant advantages in the market. This is an increasing source of high-margin recurring revenue, and we will continue to grow this business. Here you'll see examples of some of the wins over the years. We've had in Canada 1.7, Czech Republic 3.7 million, Denmark up to 1,000 units, Bulgaria 250 units. Notice today that some of the customers are asking for thousands of units. So just one of these, some of these opportunities that we're looking at are multiples more than everything we've seen before. In cybersecurity software, the revenues we said in 2018 were $3.5 million. We have a steady base of resellers and distributors that we reach customers throughout the world, very sticky customers, and we have high gross margin revenues from this software. And we continue to develop in this field additional technologies that we can add on to our platform and deploy very quickly, such as behavioral biometric, endpoint protection, and others, which are interesting to our customers. I'll just briefly through the financials. You'll see in the past we've had a lot of volatility in revenues, and a lot of that was one-time revenues from projects in eGov. We think that is going to heal now, and it's going to be more steady, given steady recurring nature of some of the current revenues in developed countries. We also see that in 2016 we acquired 4 companies out of bankruptcy, and that brought a lot of losses, but we improved the operating expenses, and you could see over time how that is becoming more towards profitability. Similarly, our margins, in 2016 we had an anomaly. Now we're growing the margins again towards a healthier, steady state. And that's it on a highlight. As I said, we're a provider of security identification, IoT, and cybersecurity solutions. We're expanding very fast in IoT tracking. Lately, we're also getting a lot of interest given the COVID-19 impact on prisons, and also our new solutions for COVID-19 quarantine tracking, getting a lot of interest, high recurring revenues currently, and significant inside ownership. And with that, I'm going to take a few questions. Okay, let me see here. A lot of questions. I'll just choose a few. I don't have so much time. Okay. Someone asked here about financial information in 2019. We are currently working on our annual audit for 2019. We do expect that the SEC will give an extension for filing, given they've announced that given the COVID-19 situation, and that extension will bring us into June at some point. Then we'll have financial. People are asking here about the overall interest of the COVID-19 solution. We're getting a lot of interest, a lot of incoming leads from various places around the world. We've been negotiate pricing and process and NDA, and then we essentially send out technology to be tested, and then try to get a contract signed. So usually this takes a long time with governments, but now because of the urgency of the solution, things are moving very fast. We don't know exactly when and if this will close, but we are doing our best to try to meet the current demand while ramping up our production as well, because the current numbers that we're being asked about are much higher than what we have anticipated in our normal plan for 2020. We're asking here about growth opportunities. So we have our normal growth opportunities in IoT tracking, which is bidding on these government projects to track offenders, just like the 20 or so wins we've had in recent years. We're seeing much more of that today. Some people are prisons are at high risk with COVID outbreak, and they're reaching out to us either through local partners or directly to see if we can take on 2,000 units, 4,000 units quickly. And we're doing our best to try to answer the demand with offender tracking and also for COVID-19 tracking. Someone here asked about U.S. Asking for the use of our solution, and yes, we are receiving a request from U.S. correction facilities to help track offenders that would have been otherwise in prison or jail. Seeing that around the world as well. Okay. Any other questions? Put them here. People are asking about the daily revenue for PureCare, and that's our quarantine solution, and our normal EM product. The prices vary, and especially now when customers want deployments urgently, we'll see what the prices will end up on these larger quantities. But typically in the U.S., not us, but talking about generally in the industry, you might see $4 a day, $5 a day, $3.50 a day, depends what's in the solution per offender being monitored. That's just general pricing to give you guys an indication. So if someone were to talk about 10,000 units, that could at those normal prices that could be $10 million. Like I said, today pricing might be a little bit more different given the urgency, but that's just the normal industry pricing. And I think we're out of time, so I will thank everyone for joining us today. And you could be in touch with me or other people of the team. I'm or Don at SuperCom.com. Happy to try to support any of your questions and calls. and you can find more information on our solutions and technologies online at www.supercom.com. Thank you all, and have a great rest of your day.
Thank you. This concludes today's webcast. You may disconnect at this time. Thank you for your participation.